I haven't gone live. Okay, you gotta hit a button. Okay, now we're officially starting. Or, I guess we're doing the pre-roll minutes. So, I'm back, finally. It's been quite a while, but I got sick and my voice was there, and I've just been very busy. But the weekly-ish programming block will hopefully be here. Hello, Kaga. Hello, Nivens. Hello, Rain McKnight. So, the video I'm currently working on might take a little bit longer than anticipated, which is okay. Shooting for Friday release. That, and in the future weeks when I don't have a live stream, I'm hoping to get the premium edits out, because I'm most of the way done with a couple of those, but they take a little bit longer than normal. That is good. I'm glad I can help people fall asleep. That's one of the reasons why Bob Ross is incredible. Is that he helps people, even people that don't like painting or want to paint. Look up to Bob Ross a lot. Okay. Stream is definitely a little scuffed today, though. So, sets today we're going to be looking at are Tournament Pack 4, sort of, and Magician's Force. And if you want to be super technical, there's actually an exclusive card that was released in the battle packs, and the special promotional tins, but it was literally unplayable. So, card stream. Yes, Milo Brucker. Hopefully, card stream. We're going over all the new spoilers coming out in, I guess, October of 2003. How will they impact the current metagame? Probably very little. More Kaga. Hey, glad I could finally catch this live on one of these. Love your channel. Well, thank you. Video games are bad. Feel like I got baited into that statement. But that's okay. Some video games are, but it's really a mixed bag, I think. Hello, hope you're feeling better, dude. Thank you. Proxy farming. I don't know what this little box is. Oh no. Is Tier Maker down? What was the best Yu-Gi-Oh video game? That's a good question. Obviously, Forbidden Memories, but that's not really a Yu-Gi-Oh video game. That one's doing its own thing. Same thing with Duelist of the Roses. And I guess the Capsule Monsters had video games too, I think. Have we done this thing yet? Did I miss it? No, you haven't missed it. I think I might be having internet connection problems. Capsule Monster Coliseum was, in my opinion, very underrated. I have not gone over it yet. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the Nexus for the DS. Ooh, that's good on. I think the one I've played the most of is probably World Championship 2005. Maybe Reshif of Destruction, and there's also Eternal Duelist Soul. I know I've played a good amount of Eternal Duelist Soul. We might have to restart stream if I can't get it. Hello, long time no see. We're getting to links, or at least pendulums, I'm sure. No, we're not. We're in 2003. We're getting to unions are actually introduced in Magician's Force, and you know the union mechanics are very strong. They sort of are. I don't know. It's weird. Hindsight's 2020, and one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is just, is a mechanic bad if it performed well on release? And I don't know. Dungeon Dice Monsters. That's a good question too. Oh. It says error cache miss. Okay. I guess the name of the game today is Technical Difficulties. So I'm very quickly remaking it. We're finally getting XYZ monsters then. Indeed, we are. No, we're not. What? Oh no. I don't understand. I don't understand. This might be a reschedule till next week. Cause I'll just show where I'm at. Turn off the title card. And those two. I don't even know how to how to describe it, but it looks like only gather your mind is the acceptable size. This one's gonna have to be rescheduled, so I can figure out what this is. I think I resized them and they're the wrong size. So disaster stream, not again. Also, the page is not the right size, so you guys can't even see. There we go. This is what came up for my tier list. You should do a Q&A. Maybe, but not today. Something else instead? Maybe? Gather Your Mind is the only worthwhile card in the set? I guess so. I don't understand. I think that's the wrong button. I think I'm going to end the stream before I accidentally dox myself. I know, I have separate browser just for streaming, but howdy, Blue Moon Tunes. That's the only worthwhile. Just 2-hour discussion of Gather Your Mind. I mean, it is the most intellectual card in the game. So much simplicity, so much tier. Look up some tier list with the cards. I think I'm gonna open up GIMP and see if I can fix it. Rain McKnight says Q&A again. I don't know. At least we get some dubba 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 dubba. Yeah, the cat is always here to save the day. Dubba 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 dubba. Getting an insistence that Q&A. So, I guess when stalling, do anyone have any questions? Because continuous vote for Q&A. Here, we'll even update the title. There we go. That's wrong. Favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card art? Ooh, that's really hard because my favorite card is already my body as a shield. But is that because of the artwork? I love the effect. I love the lore. I love Marauding Captain and Gagigo. They just go so well together. But is that my favorite card art? The Ojamas are funny artwork. I gotta think about that one. How much do you keep up with the current Yu-Gi-Oh meta? Not very much, and I think there is a huge portion of the audience which is very underserved as wanting older content, not necessarily by me, but by Konami in general, that there's so much of a push for the next new thing, and it causes either people to miss out on some of the fun things that were really good at the time, or always zeroing in on a competitive mindset, and it destroys enjoyment for the game more than anything from my experience. And how much do you think Yu-Gi-Oh changed from the start to now? I think it's totally unrecognizable. I don't think that's entirely a bad thing. I just wish that there was a way for it to be more familiar for the people that want the older style of play. And sometimes that's alternate formats, sometimes that's alternate card pools, sometimes that's introducing new rules, but none of these things seem to be getting enough, steam in order to reach that critical mass for people to really enjoy them. It's one of those tricky things because people play the games for different reasons, and you can't cater to all of the people, nor should you try to cater to all the people, but your file could not be accessed. Error upload file changed. Again, error messages I've never seen before. What other stuff do you play besides card games? That's hard. I like Fallout quite a lot, so. I keep bending over, and all the spaghetti is falling out of my pockets every time. Favorite card in a set we've reviewed so far? Maybe Japanese Spellbinding Circle. I really like the Japanese art for Spellbinding Circle. I guess this is why they made the Speed Duel format. Yeah, but Speed Duel is great. It's a different experience, but it's not the same experience. And that's the worst and best part of it. I love skill cards. Skill cards make the game way more interesting, but make it a lot harder to balance too. I don't know if speed duels are necessarily supposed to have a metagame. I know there's sanctioned play because of course there is, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels different. So your 2 coins on hand traps. Sometimes they're good for the game. I like Max C. It can't come back. It's too much of a sack card, but I think it's otherwise a really good balance point. And it's a deterrent that doesn't say no, you can't play the game. It's a deterrent that says think before you act, except that's not how it works in the game anymore. Okay. Go back to the stream software. The stream software is not okay. That's not right. Why are you not right? Okay. What's your favorite archetype to play? I love heroes a lot. I love Blackwings. I love Synchro. I love XCs. I love a lot of the game. From a design perspective, though, what do I think is designed the best is an interesting question. I've gotten a lot more appreciation for volcanics recently because the volcanics, I think, were underappreciated, and it's because they're different. Gladiator beasts are really cool, but not necessarily great. New Vegas sweep. New Vegas is great. I like Fallout 1 and 2 quite a lot. I'm having fun in 76, but that doesn't mean it's good. Yu-Gi-Oh! Signature Boss Monsters tier list. Ooh. I guess what is the signature boss is a little hard to define. Old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, well, yes, but actually now. Ooh, let's go. Volcanics! Okay. I think we're formatted correctly. Oh, no, we're not. Because... Okay, now we're formatted correctly. No, we're not. Okay. Flameville. So Flameville have exactly one good card. And it's Fire Dog. What's one old card you want to see an archetype built around? Ooh. These are really fun questions. Maybe like the dragon dwelling in the cave and Fiend Skull Dragon and Lesser Fiend. I think those are cool cards. But I think we're 25 minutes in? Something like that? Yeah, 25 minutes in and we can start. Okay. So first card is actually from Tournament Pack 4. It's not in the Magician's Force set, but I think it is the only new card that's introduced in Tournament Pack 4. And you can't have a tier list with just one item. So, starting off with Royal Decree. It's a continuous trap effect. Negate all other trap effects on the field. I understand if anyone says that Royal Decree is a design mistake, because it's gone through a lot of errata. Royal Decree is not in this set. It's in Tournament Pack 4, which was in the teaser. So, I don't know if it goes all the way up to worth considering today, because our trap card's worth considering today. And the answer's sort of. Royal Decree is the floodgate that isn't banned most often. No. You can use it against Eldritch. Yeah, Eldritch. Can't speak. You can also use it against the Labyrinth cards. Shades of Imperial Order with this card. I agree. I think generously we'll say worth considering today. If you choose, would you rather run Jinzo or Royal Decree with benefits of hindsight? Ooh. Jinzo's got a lot of good support behind it now, though. Like, you can search Jinzo and you can special summon him directly from the deck, so probably still Jinzo. Oh, you're saying that the Royal Decree, that's the king, and it's the same king between Royal Decree, Royal Surrender, Huge Revolution. The Huge Revolution is over. There's a whole bunch of cards. Imperial Order, Emperor's Holiday, Tyrant's Tantrum, Tyrant's Tummy Ache. All the same guy. Lore video one day. Next up, Dark Magician Girl. This is one of the alternate artworks. I think there's like 4 different alternate artworks. So one's here, and then a different one is in the tier list. I don't know which one I like best. But Dark Magician Girl, Dark Attribute, level 6, Spellcaster effect, gains 300 attack for every Dark Magician or Magician of Black Chaos in the graveyards. 2000 attack, 1700 defense. Do you use this card? I mean, I think it's pretty mediocre. When we get Sage's Stone, it's pretty good. Like, Dark Magician as a deck is starting to come together at this very early age, but I don't think it's worth playing quite yet. So, good on release, maybe meta on one point if there's something that I'm forgetting. Oh, wait a second. Do you use this when you bring out the Fusion Monster? You might use it with the Fusion Monster that has her as material. By itself, though, it's just okay. Next up, speaking of people running about, we got the Fire Attribute level 2 Pyro. Although they always suffer in silence, they swear an oath to inevitably revolt. 600 attack, 600 defense. These cards have a retrain. They're like insect retrains. They're very interesting. You don't think that DMG is even used in those decks. Ooh. I guess DMG gets demoted to good on release. Yep. People running about, they got some great lore. I agree. We actually get to see it with oppressed people. By the way, the type, attribute, and stats and level on this card, on these cards, it is mind-boggling. Oppressed people, this one's oppressed ants in the retrain. Oppressed people, water attribute, level 1, aqua. They are oppressed, obviously, but believe they will have their freedom someday. 400 attack, 2000 defense. Not bad. Maybe we'll put that in filler out class. I mean, you can conceivably use it with Metamorphosis and bring out Thousand Eyes Restrict, which isn't bad. I wish Huge Revolution was a better deck. Archetype about people running about. I think eventually, maybe not with Treasure Panda, but eventually they're going to make some normal monster support, and they're just going to forget about the Huge Revolution cards, and it's going to be meta. Next up, United Resistance. Wind attribute, level 3, Thunder. The people that gather to swear to fight their oppressors. A revolution is coming. 1,000 attack, 400 defense. These are some really good flavor text cards. I completely agree. I don't know which one's the best, but I like them. We're now moving on to the other mechanic, or I guess the other draw in this card set, and that would be Union Monsters. So, X-Head Cannon is the first one. Light attribute, level 4, Machine. A monster with a mighty cannon barrel. It is able to integrate its attacks. It attacks in many ways by combining and separating with other machines. 1,800 attack, 1,500 defense. Ooh, fusion monsters on the People series. That would be interesting. The Rush dual ones are the Ant ones. I'm thinking it might be acceptable in Archetype. I mean, you can use it to like bring out the super big VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon and fun stuff. But are you really using it for that? I don't think ABC XYZ was ever a deck. The big draw is the ABCs, but I guess it's conceivably useful in there. It's a good question. Next up, the Y-Head Dragon. Light attribute, level 4, Machine Union effect. Once per turn, you can either target one X-Head cannon you control, equip this card to the target, or unequip this card and special summon it. A monster equipped with this gains 400 attack and defense. Also, if the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. 1,500 attack, 1,600 defense. A lot of the Union monsters have similar effects like a destruction replacement effect, but not all of them. So, I'm still going to be noting it each time. Robot Slifer the Sky Dragon. I'm just going to put it in Archetype. Okay. A VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon Dragon. It's a decent body for the time. I agree it is. And there were not a lot of good light attribute monsters. It's Necessary Guard and Ojama Orange Dragon VWXYZ. But are you playing Ojama Armed Dragon VWXYZ? Ooh, Huge Revolution could be an archetype in all but name. I don't know. They are very incoherent. The original XYZ cards are one of the best decks in Speed Duels. That's because of the skill, not the cards. Oh, okay. There's some decent Union support in this set, though. I don't feel like Union monsters were dead on arrival. I just don't know if people recognized that they were useful. These are modern versions of the cards, right? Because they had erratas for when the ABC deck came out. I think so. I always try to use the most modern card text just to prevent confusion. Next up, Z Metal Tank. Light attribute, level 4, Machine Union effect. Once per turn, you can either target one X-Head cannon or Y Dragon Head you control. Equip this card to the target or unequip this card and special summon it. A monster equipped with this card gains 600 attack and defense. Also, if the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. I'm just going to put it acceptable in Archetype. Hey, this is Shining Angel target, for what that matters. These are the modern versions of the cards, right? I already did that. Yes. Next up, Dark Blade. So one of the super interesting things about Dark Blade, where is he? I guess he's not in this set. But Warrior Digrapher and Dark Blade actually have the same lore. They have the same rules text, the same flavor text. So I didn't even notice that, but that's super interesting to me. And a lot of people have speculated that Dark Blade is Warrior Digrapher after wearing, where is it, the metal silver armor, which is also in this set. Pretty cool lore. But what does Dark Blade do? Dark Blade, Dark Attribute, level 4, Warrior. They say he is a dragon manipulating warrior from the Dark World. His attacks is tremendous, using his great swords with vicious power. 1800 attack, 1500 defense. I might have said it slightly wrong. That Dark Blade, the dragon manipulating part is the same. Anyway, very interesting. I think it's okay. It's a pretty good warrior, pretty good Rhoda target since Rhoda's out. Next up, Pitch Dark Dragon. Dark Attribute, level 3, Dragon, Union. Ooh, this is old Union text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this card on the field, you can equip it to your Dark Blade as an equip spell, or unequip this Union monster and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, increase the attack and defense of the equipped monster by 400 points. When it attacks with an attack that is higher than the defense of a defense position monster, inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent's life points. One monster card can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed by a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 900 attack, 600 defense. I mean, are all the Union monsters just going to go in the acceptable tier? Piercing battle damage. No, I think it's just going to go in bad. Piercing battle damage is nice. Minor attack buff is nice. A little bit of protection is nice. But overall, it's just underwhelming. Reading in 2003, more card text than Endymions. It is quite a lot of card text. I don't know if this card has even gotten an updated card text, to be honest. I think I'm using the most recent version of the card still. Next up, Kiryu. Dark Attribute, level 5, Dragon Union. And big wall of text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this card on the field, you can equip it to your Dark Blade as an equip spell, or unequip this Union equipment and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster, you contribute this card to allow the equipped monster to attack your opponent's life points directly this turn. One monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. I skipped a line, didn't I? While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, increase the attack and defense of the equipped monster by 900 points. And you contribute this card to allow the equipped monster to attack your opponent's life points directly this turn. I did skip a line. So much text. Is this useful? I don't think so. Great art, but way worse than Pitch Black Dragon. I agree. It's super interesting, though. I like the idea behind the Union monsters, but in the same set, you get the Union version of the monsters, and then you get the Fusion version of the monsters. It's a little bit weird. Maybe not in the same set. Maybe it's in a later set that you get the fusion versions. Dragoonity, maybe. I don't think you're using it in Dragoonities. Next up, Decayed Commander. Earth Attribute, level 4, Zombie, Effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Zombie Tiger from your hand. Hey, Swarming! That's actually pretty decent field presence on the card, so that's not bad. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, discard one random card from their hand. 1000 attack, 1500 defense. So, this card's actually been meta before, and it's not because swarming into link plays, although I guess you could do that. It's because of that hand destruction effect. Same thing with Spirit Reaper and Danzalug, and there's a White Magical Hat is another one. A lot of these cards that just took cards out of your opponent's hand saw some meta play. This one specifically in zombie decks. Yeah, it's a White Magical Hat. Potentially better than White Magical Hat, though, because zombie support. Next up, Zombie Tiger. Just look at that artwork. You can see the Decayed Commander in the background. Such good design. Zombie Tiger, Earth Attribute, level 3, Zombie Union Effect. Once per turn, you can either target one Decayed Commander you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it in attack position. While equipped by this effect, the equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense. If the equipped monster destroys a monster by battle, discard one random card from their hand. Yay! A monster can only be equipped with one union monster at a time. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. 1400 attack, 1600 defense. So it's level 3, so you can't just go into rank 4 synchro. You can't go into rank 4s. You definitely can't synchro with it because you don't have a tuner. But it's not bad. It's interesting. I like the design that the Decayed Commander can now start destroying monsters by battle and still get its effect off. But I don't know. I think Gimmick's a very fair place to put it, though. Next up, we have Giant Orc. Dark Attribute, level 4, Fiend Effect. If this card attacks, it is changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. You cannot change this battle position until the end of your next turn. 2200 attack, 0 defense. So you can use this card with Deck Devastation Virus, and that's why it's seen meta play. Combos with Ojama Trio next set. Interesting. Do you run Ojama Trio and Giant Orc? I don't know. And like Jirai Gumo, and I guess Goblin Attack Force, you can just normal summon this and not attack, and then you got a big beefy wall that your opponent attacks into. Yeah, Goblin Attack Force, better, more searchable. But Giant Orc is good with Deck Devastation Virus and maybe some other cards. Not bad in Skill Drain Beta. Yeah, not bad in Skill Drain Beater decks too. That is a good point. And I think Mass Chameleon can bring back Giant Orc, and then you can do like Xyz summons. Skill Drain out of 10. Very good evaluation. Next up, Second Goblin. Look, you see Giant Orc in the foreground again. Second Goblin, Dark Attribute, level 1, Fiend Union. Original Union text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this monster on the field, you can equip it to your Giant Orc as an equip spell, or unequip the Union equipment and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, you can change the equipped monster's battle position once per turn. One monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 100 attack, 100 defense. I mean, you can use 1 for 1 and bring it out. the idea behind this is why it's better than Giant Orc, is because you can remove that downside that Giant Orc would have over Goblin attack force. I don't know. I think it's cool design. I think it's a little pathetic, but it's very interesting. I like how the second Goblin goes on later to have a nice career as a coach when he's in the ring. He becomes Coach Goblin, which is cool. Not a bad card at all. Okay. Maybe filler? My problem with the card is just, how do you bring this out? I guess you normal summon Giant Orc, and then the next turn you bring out second Goblin? I know there's a pretty good Union support card for this, but... yeah, there's a lot of obscure cards. Next up, Vampiric Orcus. So this used to be called Vampire Orcus, but there's an archetype of zombies called vampires. I'm explaining what vampires are. So this is no longer a vampire card, is the important part. Vampiric Orcus. Earth attribute, level 4, Dark effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Death Stindle from your hand. 1700 attack, 1000 defense. So, I don't know, it's goofy. It's super goofy, but the fact that you can special summon Death Stindle, and Death Stindle is, let me double check, a level 4, means that you can make rank 4 plays in your Union deck, in your plant-based Union deck, which I think is gimmicky, but it's also a little bit fun. Speaking of Death Stindle, Earth attribute, level 4, plant, Union, a lot of text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this monster on the field, you can equip it to your Vampire Orcus as an equip spell card, or unequip this Union equipment and special summon this card in a face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, each time the equipped monster destroys one of your opponent's monsters, special summon one Wicked Plant token. Plant type, Earth, level 1, 800 attack, 800 defense. One monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 300 attack, 2000 defense. That's a lot of defense. I'm just gonna put it in Gimmick next to Vampire Orcus. And if you don't know, there is some really cool real life lore. So orchids are crazy in the plant kingdom. They are parasitic in some cases, so they're eating other plants. And there's actually a few varieties of orchids that will not just eat other plants, but benefit from rotting wood. Death Stindle is like Death Dendro, or dead tree. But it's very, very interesting. We do like tokens. I don't know if there's ever going to be a slow enough game for Vampire Orcus beat in the history of the game where links would be considered. I don't know. It's very interesting. Definitely one of my favorite cards from a design perspective. It's a token generator. Yes, it's a token generator, but on a pretty hard condition. It's not a good token generator, I'll put it that way. Make sure stream caught up. Okay, next up, Burning Beast. So like, this card's artwork is really weird. I always thought it was bigger than this. It was like a whole bear, but no. If you look at the expanded art, it's just the head. And it's confusing to me. Like they didn't draw a body in for this monster. Burning Beast. Fire attribute, level 4, Pyro Union. Okay, big text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this monster on the field, you can equip it to your Freezing Beast as an equip spell, or unequip the Union equipment and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, Each time the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, destroy one face-up spell or trap on the field. One monster can only be equipped with one union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 1500 attack, 1000 defense. So these cards are really, really weird. They're probably going to fit into bad, but both of them are union monsters. I guess with Y, Dragonhead, and Z, Metal Tank, both of those were union monsters, but I think the idea is, hey, you could have this one as the equipment or this one as the equipment. I'm so thankful that they're accompanied by their relevant monster next to each other in the set. It'd be so awkward if they weren't. The counterpart to Burning Beast is, of course, Freezing Beast. Water attribute, level 4, Aqua, Union. A lot of text. Once per turn during your main phase, if you control this monster on the field, you can equip it to your Burning Beast as an equip spell, or unequip the Union monster and special summon unequip the Union equipment, and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, each time the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, destroy one face-down spell or trap card on the field. One monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 1500 attack, 1000 defense. There's a nugget of something interesting. I'm guessing with Descendal. I agree. Turtle can special summon Burning Beast. I agree. Freezing Beast can be special summoned out by Mother Grizzly, I guess. I have childhood memory of Freezing Beast. I had an OCG copy and just Freezing Beast and not Burning. So there was mystique on what the effect was. Oh, that's sad. Love the card artwork too. I do too. It's very, very nice. Put it next to Burning Beast. Not only does this card have a good artwork, but later in the set when we see combination attack, I think, it has both of them together and it looks quite good. Maybe combination attack is in this set? I might have missed it. Anyway. Next one. Union monsters are so strong, they need a special anti-support card with Union Rider. Wind attribute, level 2, machine effect. You can take control of up to one Union monster that is currently a monster on your opponent's side of the field and equip it to this card. The Union monster that is equipped to this card cannot be changed back into a monster using its own effect. Oh, good. 1000 attack, 1000 defense. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Your opponent being able to just unequip and resummon their equipment would be funny. So I'm glad that it thought of that. But this card is very bad. And it's very bad based on what it does. If Union monsters were good, then this card would be good. And ABCs don't really make this card good. It's funny more than anything. If you're successfully attacking, they probably don't need to pop the back row. That's true too. Win more cards. Would be moved into your spell and trap zone. I think that's right too. You gotta be careful with these new unions. Yeah. Dragoonities aren't even union monsters, I think. I think they just have very similar union-like effects. Next up, DD Crazy Beast. Look, it's abducting the second goblin right now and bringing him into the different dimension. I wonder if this is before or after he was coaching in the boxing ring. Don't know. DD Crazy Beast. Earth attribute, level 3, beast effect. A monster that this card destroys as a result of battle is removed from play. 1400 attack, 1400 defense. Hey, gets under gravity bind. That's actually a pretty good effect, to be honest. Just getting to banish monsters it's good. It disrupts a lot of strategies. Imagine Machine Dupe summon 3 Union Riders to take 3 of your opponent's Union monsters. You could do some crazy link plays after that point. Rescue cat target that can deal with recruiters, yeah. Was Crazy Beast meta at one point? I'm not sure. $1,400 attack on a level 3 is not bad. You gotta remember that Gravity Bind is out at this point, so. And Level Limited Area B is coming out pretty soon. What cards in the format can Crazy Beast banish for some effect? Let's see, I think Sangan and Witch of the Black Forest and all the battle floaters would need to stay in the graveyard, right? Destroyed as a result of battle and sent to the graveyard. So it hits all the battle floaters, and every single one of those was meta at one point. Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest. There's some other stuff. It's got some utility. Next up, we got the Genzo counterpart. Spell Counselor. Wind attribute, level 5, machine, effect. Spell cards and their effects on the field cannot be activated. Negate all spell effects on the field. 1800 attack, 1600 defense. I'm going to say we're being generous with Royal Decree. So Spell Counselor, really good. Really awkward to get out, though. Does DD Crazy Beast have to survive the battle for the effect to trigger? Interesting. But just turning off spell cards, I think that's always going to be relevant in the game. It's just getting out this level 5 weak monster is awkward. Worth considering today. Tier Laments are milling with this Curious and summoning it with Dugares right now. Yeah. Mid at best, but good side deck card. Oh, I agree. I don't think that you main deck Royal Decree or Spell Counselor, but I still think that they're worth considering. This sort of tier list is main deck, side deck, extra deck, wherever it fits. Next up, Neko Mane King, which for some reason I keep reading Maneke Neko, which is wrong, very wrong. Neko Mane King is Earth attribute, level 1, beast effect. During your opponent's turn, when this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, it becomes the end phase of this turn. 0 attack, 0 defense. I don't know where it goes. I don't know if this card is worth thinking about, because your opponent's playing Dark Worlds. They activate Dark World Dealings. You discard this card, and you end their turn. And that's really funny. Ooh, you can use it against Empty Jar? Yeah. There's a lot of funny things that you can do with this card, but I'm not sure any of them are ever good. That being said, it has been played in side decks in the past, so it's been meta at one point. Yes, this card does trigger when your opponent hits it with removals, so their Raigeki, their Dark Hole, their Nobleman of Crossout wouldn't send it to the graveyard, so not that one. But their Fissure, I guess. The card is just very silly. Next up, Helping Robo for Combat. It sort of looks like a Patrol Robo, actually, from the first tournament pack. Light Attribute, level 4, Machine, Effect. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, draw one card. Then return one card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. 1600 attack, 0 defense. That's pretty good. Like, not good in today's terms, but I think that's pretty good on release at least. It's not a +1. It's just neutral card advantage, but card selection, always good. Ooh! We get confirmation that the Nekomane King is being used in the OCG right now to counter the upcoming Ishizu milled cards. Okay. I agree. We'll say it's worth considering today. Still a side deck card. Probably don't main deck it. Next up, Dimension Jar. From our history with the jar cards, this one should be good, right? Dark Attribute, level 2, Machine, Effect, Flip. Both players can remove from play up to 3 monsters from their opponent's graveyard. 200 attack, 200 defense. I think this card might be worse than Ancient Jar. It might be the absolute worst jar. Like, every other one of them is at least a little useful. If DD Crazy Beast attacks an attack position monster with the same attack, both monsters are destroyed. DD Crazy Beast's effect is not applied. Okay, it does have to remain on the field. Interesting. Very interesting. Next up, Great Phantom Thief. Earth Attribute, level 3. Spellcaster, Effect. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, declare one card name. Look at your opponent's hand, and if you do, discard all cards with that name in their hand. 1000 attack, 1000 defense. I think you're much better off with White Magical Hat or Don Zalug or Decayed Commander. There are so many cards that are better than Dimension Jar. Like, Soul Release is probably the best one. Burial from a Different Dimension is basically much better than Dimension Jar. They do the opposite, though. Yeah, you could declare Nekomane King. Next up, Roulette Barrel. So, the roulette wheel is a lot more obvious on the OCG art than it is on the TCG. Roulette Barrel, Light Attribute, level 4, Machine, Effect. Once per turn, you can roll a 6-sided dice twice. Oh, it's a single die. Once per turn, you can roll a 6-sided die twice. Choose one result and destroy one monster in the field whose level is equal to that result. 1000 attack, 2000 defense. I think it's very decent. It's removal, but it's not terribly reliable, and can even hit your own cards. Which is very, very interesting, though. I'd say it's not too powerful, but not reliable removal either. One day, though, I'm going to do a big video talking about all these gamble cards, because I think they're very interesting. Yeah, 7 stars and above are unaffected by Roulette Barrel. That's true. Is Boss Rush in this set? If Boss Rush is in this set, then... Or is it Blind Destruction? I think Blind Destruction is much, much later, but that one does hit higher level monsters. Skipped a card. Next up, Paladin of White Dragon. Light attribute, level 4, Dragon, Ritual, Effect. You can ritual summon this card with White Dragon Ritual. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks a face-down defense position monster, destroy that face-down monster. You can tribute this card and special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck, but Blue Eyes White Dragon cannot attack for the rest of this turn. 1900 attack, 1200 defense. That's some pretty good effects. Like, both of them are pretty good. I mean, you're going to go pretty minus to get the Paladin out, but that's a really strong removal effect if it doesn't end up flipping it. I get confused. So, like, Drillroid does flip the monster face up, but I think this one wouldn't. I can see it being a gimmick. I don't know. I think it's fun. I agree, the ritual is a huge downside. Rituals just weren't very good yet. Next up, we have the ritual for it, White Dragon Ritual, ritual spell. This card is used to ritual summon Paladin of White Dragon. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equals 4 or more. The ritual spell's not that bad, but it's still a -2 whenever you want to summon it. When we get ARA, it's a -1, which is better, but it's still a -1, and you have to have it in your hand. Most rituals have to win you the game to be playable, even in low power formats. I can agree with that. Summoning from your deck is incredible, and 4 stars made it an inexpensive ritual, but it's still a ritual. I agree. If you're running the Blue Eyes, I think it's a reasonable card if you're already running Blue Eyes. Next up, Frontline Base. Spell card? Yeah. Continuous spell. Once per turn, you can special summon one level 4 or lower monster, one level 4 or lower Union monster from your hand. I think this card is really good. I like Frontline Base quite a lot. It's good tempo. I'm not sure if you run it. Yeah, I think you do run it in ABCs because it's just a good play enabler because you can get multiple out at the same time. Might be talking this card up a little high, but I like Frontline Base quite a lot. Paladin is possibly harder to get out than summoning the actual Blue Eyes White Dragon normally. Yeah. ARA requires that the ritual monster is dark? I think that's wrong. I think you're thinking of Contract with the Abyss requires it to be dark. Yeah, a double summon, but only for unions. But it's also a double summon that you'll get multiple turns unless your opponent pops it. So I like Frontline Base. Next up, Demotion. Look at the OCG artwork. Why can't we have horns? I guess demonic, because we can't have Dark Ruler Hades in this country. Anyway, Demotion. Equip spell, downgrade the monster equipped with this card by 2 levels. Such interesting card text. Is this ever useful? I think it's just never worth the card. Yes, you can get under Gravity Bind. And I think that's it. It's a very useful effect. I know in the video games you can cheese with this card, but I can't think of a good way to use it. You know what else gets under Gravity Bind? Mystical Space Typhoon. But I don't know. Frontline based? Most awkward synchro support half a decade early. You know what is interesting though? What is it? I think it's called tuning. There is some synchro support that modulates levels, and it's released like 2 or 3 sets before synchros came out, and it's really interesting. Level tuning, that's the card name. Including this in my Psyframe driver Gravity Bind beatdown deck, obviously. It wouldn't do anything until synchros or XCs. I guess Demotion does make like Revived King Hades easier to bring out, or the Skull Archfiend, Zombie Skull Archfiend a little easier. I don't know. Hello, first time chatting here. Hello, Cyber Soul Gym. Nice to have you. Next up, Combination Attack. Quick play spell. Best kind of spell. During a battle phase, you can use this effect on one monster that has attacked this turn and is equipped with a Union monster. Change the Union monster back to a monster in face-up attack or defense position. Also, the monster that was equipped with the Union monster may attack again this turn. So theoretically, this gives you 2 additional attacks if you special summon it in an attack mode. Theoretically, because you'd have to be running this card. I guess if you're real heavy in your Union deck, you might use it. It's super weird calling Union monsters an archetype because they're not. They're just a mechanic. They're not unified by anything else. But it's interesting to think about. Next up, I think this is slightly awkwardly formatted Kaiser Coliseum. Like there's a little yellow line at the bottom for some reason. Regardless, Kaiser Coliseum, continue a spell. If there is one or more monster on the field of the controller of this card, his or her opponent cannot place a monster on the field if his or her number of monsters would exceed the number of monsters that are on the field of this card's controller. The cards that are already on the field before this card's activation are unaffected by this effect. Whew. This effect is very confusing, but that's not the reason this card is a design mistake. This card's a design mistake primarily because it shuts down every single extra deck mechanic. This card is a war crime. I can see that. Yeah, level tuning was released in Light of Destruction, the set before Duelist Genesis, so yeah, right before Synchros came out. I think what hurts this card more is how stuff like Desdindle, Zombie Tiger, and the Union Goblin have tiny attack values. That's true. Mystic Mind, but yellow. That is a great observation for Kaiser Coliseum. Is Union considered a type like Gemini? So Union is not a type. It's on the type line, but it's actually an ability. Gemini is an ability. Tuner is an ability. Trying to think. Tune is an ability. So it's not even called the type line. It's called the ability line. Kaiser Coliseum is banned in the TCG despite mine being legal. It's a decent tech in the OCG, but causes few issues. Interesting. Didn't realize it was OCG legal. Doesn't shut down fusions. I guess it doesn't shut down fusions from the hand. Kaiser plus Yamato. Yeah. I don't like Kaiser Coliseum. I don't like Mystic Mine. Next up, Autonomous Action Unit. Autonomous Action Unit. That's hard to say. Equip spell. Pay 1,500 life points, then target one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field in attack position, and equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. Ooh, they got the last part. They didn't get that part in Premature Burial, so glad they learned from that mistake. I think this card's completely fine. I like it. I don't think I've ever seen it in a deck, but I think it's pretty cool. 1,500 life points though. That's quite a lot. It's not nearly as good as Monster Reborn, but still pretty decent. Monster Reborn, but bad. I think it's decent. I think this is an interesting card. I think for the record, Monster Reborn, but bad. Well, Monster Reborn is one of the best cards in the game at this point, so a worse version of Monster Reborn isn't that bad. If I remembers correctly, this was used in 2017 Zoo format. And Zoo Mirrors. Ooh. A meta presence for Autonomous Action Unit. Interesting. It seems more play in Modern Warrior decks that use Isolde. Ooh. Right. It's an equip spell, so you can search it with Isolde. That is pretty good. It would be very busted. I think it's a very fair card. I like learning that cards actually did see some meta performance much later down the line. It makes me real happy. Next up, Poison of the Old Man. Quick play spell, activate one of these effects. Gain 1,200 life points, inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent. So this card simultaneously power creeps Diane Keto Curemaster and Ukazi. For one thing, it's modal, but it's also just flat out better than Diane Keto in the amount that you restore. And it's a quick play spell, so that makes it even better. And like Hinotama and Sparks and Final Flame and all of these cards just get outpaced by Poison of the Old Man. Even without Chain Strike, this card is really strong. I think you run it in Chain Burn. I don't think you run it anywhere else, but I think in that specific case it's worth considering. There are better cards than Chain Burn still. I will definitely admit that. I like its versatility. I agree too. Ooh, if you use it with Cyberstun, you could pull out a second fusion monster potentially. That'd be cool. Next up, Ante. Normal spell. Each player reveals one card from their hand. If one card is higher level than the other, the card with the lower level is sent to the graveyard, and the monster who reveals it takes 1,000 damage. Non-monster cards are treated as level 0. So, whenever I say that a card is good, it's not an endorsement of it ethically. I want to make that clear. But Ante is really interesting. So if you're playing like Blue Eyes White Dragon in your deck for some reason, Ante is really good for the time because nothing in the competitive game is anywhere close to Blue Eyes White Dragon's level. This card is Meteor of Destruction that's neutral card advantage. And it's super interesting because you can have some mind games, like by showing it. I agree there are better options with Time Lords, but I'm saying as far as cards that are potentially playable, it at the time, Blue Eyes is probably one of the higher. I guess you got Ultimate Obedient Fiend, but you're not running Ultimate Obedient Fiend in your deck. Very bad against Burning Abyss, yeah. Let's see, it's sent. It's sent to the graveyard, so at least it doesn't trigger Dark Worlds. It's very interesting, though, because if you think that your opponent is playing Ante, are you going to just reveal the worst card in your hand, or are you going to try to beat them? It's a cool little mind game. Gate Guardian's level 11. What level is Ultimate Obedient Fiend? Because he's in this set right here. Next up, Dark Core. Normal spell, discard one card. Then target one face-up monster on the field. Banish that target. Could reveal Fairy Tale Snow. Dark Core is great. Like, this card has definitely seen some meta success. So it's banishing, but it's also targeting. So I don't think you'd really use it over a kaiju, but it's interesting. It's super interesting, and I like it. Ooh, you can run Ante and Encles. You think that... Ooh, you can use Ante with Towers. Towers is banned, though, right? Or am I confused? Anyway, Dark Core is still very interesting. Maybe borderline consider it. Definitely power creeped tribute to the bit doomed, though, for the most part. Used in a few modern Teledad decks against Stardust Dragon. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, Towers did get unbanned. I guess that one just flew under the radar. Or I must have missed it. That's okay. Next up, Rare Gold Armor. Equip spell. As long as the monster equipped with this card... As long as you control the monster equipped with this card, your opponent cannot attack other monsters other than the equipped monster. That is awkward to say. So this is Ring of Magnetism, but better. But I think that Ring of Magnetism is just okay as a card. Marshmallow glasses, but universal. Interesting. I think it's better than Ring of Magnetism. Best card art for an equipped card. And it's actual equipment, and it looks really cool. So, going along with the lore, we can actually speculate that the Paladin of White Dragon is wearing the rare gold armor, and this might be the Warrior Digrepher wearing the other armor set and turning into the Paladin of White Dragon. Maybe he's going through the White Dragon ritual and wearing the armor. Ooh. Equip cells are difficult design space because you're at real risk of going -1 more than anything. Next up, Metal Silver Armor, which we already mentioned is what Dark Blade's wearing. And look, the Dark Blades are included in the Metal Silver Armor. By the way, this reminds me of the Berserker armor from Berserk, but that might be coincidental. Metal Silver Armor, equip spell. As long as you control the monster equipped with this card, your opponent cannot use the effect of spell, trap, or effect monsters that target one monster except the equipped monster. So it turns one of your cards into a targeting lightning rod, which I think is just filler. Next up, Kishido Spirit. Continuous spell. Monsters on your side of the field cannot be destroyed in a battle if the monsters' attack are equal. Hey! This means that your DD Crazy Beast can hit over those battle floaters now. This card is so underwhelming. There's a card called Banner of Courage that gives your attacking monsters like 100 attack points during the battle phase only. That card is better than Kishido's Spirit. That's how rough this card is. It does almost nothing. Next up, Tribute Doll. Normal spell, tribute 1 monster. Special summon 1 level 7 or special summon 1 level 7 from your hand that can be normal summoned or set. It cannot attack this turn. So there's some fun stuff that you can do with Tribute Doll. I don't know if it's good on release or if you put it in Gimmick, but there's a lot of fun stuff and silly stuff that you can do with Tribute Doll, especially if you're stealing your opponent's monsters. It's cool having 2 Dragon Knights being foils for each other and use completely different card types with rituals versus unions/fusions. Oh yeah, the lore within these early sets is just perfect. Turns all monsters into Kaiser Glider. But is that useful? How would this card interact with a monster that cannot be targeted by card effects? I don't know. Both of them had fusions. Paladin of White Dragon has fusions? Oh, Darkblade and Warrior Digrapher both have fusions, yes. Ooh. I think it's implied that this card must tribute your own monsters. Yeah, Burden of the Mighty is better than Kishido's Spirit. Kishido's Spirit, very underwhelming. If it doesn't say target, it doesn't target. Yeah, but a lot of these older cards don't necessarily specify unless they've had problem solving card text later. Next up, we have Wave Motion Cannon. Continuous spell. During your main phase, you can send this card to the graveyard to inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent for each of your standby phases that have passed since this card was activated. I guess you could immediately send it to the graveyard for 0 damage. I don't think you're supposed to, though. I think this is how you deal damage in like Mystic Mind decks. I know there's Poison of the Old Man Retrain that you can do too. And I guess you could use Dark Snake Syndrome. There's a lot of things that you can do, but this is the payoff for having big stall decks. If Metal Silver Armor is on a monster with targeting immunity, your opponent cannot target any monsters anywhere for any reason whatsoever. Thank you, Carter Parrot. Continuous Spell of Anxiety. Tribute Doll should have a PSCT errata since it is in speed duels. Interesting. Battleship Yamato reference out of 10. Battleship Yamato. What about the Pyro Clock of Destiny? I have no idea how this card interacts with Pyro Clock of Destiny, but I'm guessing it doesn't. Ah, 2 of them at the same time. Yeah, that is rough. Next up, we have the Huge Revolution. Normal trap. This card can only be activated during your main phase when people running about, oppressed people, and united resistance are all face up on your side of the field. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will be experiencing buffering. Okay. Stream Is stream quality still okay, or is it buffering for people? But I like how you sit on wave motion generator and charge it. It's an impending doom and can be popped at any time. It gives your opponent time to react. That is true. It's a lot better than like Final Countdown, which is also impending doom, but there's no counterplay after you've activated it. It's just stall and wait. The huge revolution has started. They finally revolted. Finally, Yu-Gi-Oh! Prints some communism support. Well, the huge revolution will be over later, though. You should win the duel if they are all on the field at the same time. Hard enough to make it a win condition. Huge Revolution and the other three cards was in a Yu-Gi structure deck from, I believe, 2002 or 2003. Okay. Huge Revolution, normal trap. This card can only be activated during your main phase when people running about, oppressed people, and united resistance are face up on the field. Face up on your side of the field, can't have them in your opponent's. Send all cards in your opponent's hand to the graveyard and destroy all cards your opponent controls on the field. Ooh, it destroys. It'd be a lot better if it just sent cards from everywhere. Do we say gimmick or do we just say bad? I don't think there's a way to cheat out the effect, but if there is like a Diamond Dude Turbo equivalent that works with trap cards that ignores activation conditions and only gets the effect off, it'd be okay. Right now it's just way too hard. In its defense though, you might be in a position to win the duel if your opponent has nothing. Battleship Yamato is a classic 70s space opera anime, so popular it still gets sequels and reboots decades later. The titular ship has the signature attack, the wave motion gun. Ah, there we go. I think Gurren Lagann is a reference to Battleship Yamato. What with the big mecha, and Robotech might be also. Really bad. There's like no way you're happening. Bad gimmick. Bad. I can see it in very bad. Good effect. Never gonna happen. It takes out entire fleets, but it took a long time to charge, so this card is mechanically very accurate. Man, I am learning so much all the time. I love that. Next up, Thunder of Ruler. Normal trap. During your opponent's standby phase, you can activate this card. There is no battle phase this turn. Wow, that's some weird wording. But by the way, this card has an equivalent called Threatening Roar. Threatening Roar is just better because it doesn't have that weird standby phase activation condition. I guess you could even forget to use Thunder of Ruler and miss the timing. Is Threatening Roar out yet, though? Anyway, this card might even be useful today, but I think Swift Scarecrow's pretty good. MST on draw phase. Ooh. I think this card might predate Threatening Roar, and that's why. Next up, Spell Shield Type 8. Counter Trap. Activate one of these effects. When a spell card is activated that targets exactly one monster on the field, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. That's Rear Yoko Field's effect. When a spell card is activated, send one spell card from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. That's similar to Magic Jammer, but a little bit harder. So this card power creeps 2 different cards, If you're running counter traps, do you use it? Probably not. But it's definitely been in the metagame before. Oh, Threatening Roar still lets them use the battle phase. If you could skip main phase 1, like Dryphon can do with Armor Factor Pain, and also use this card to skip their battle phase, then it's a true turn skip. Interesting. No Threatening Roar, not until Flaming Eternity, I believe. Yeah. That's weird. That's super weird that there's a little bit of a gimmick that you could do with that. I wonder if there's that card, what is it, Terminal World Dual Terminal, that also prevents the main phase 2? Would that work with this card? I guess they'd still have their main phase 1 though. But very interesting. Yeah, Spell Shield's got a lot of utility. Probably not quite strong enough for today's game though. Next up, Meteor Rain. Or Meteor Rain? Meteor Ain? Feel like it's missing a letter. Normal trap. During this turn, when your opponents when your monsters attack with an attack that is higher than the defense of your opponent's defense position monsters, inflict the difference. Your monsters do piercing battle damage this turn. It's so hard to say. But your monsters gain piercing battle damage. That's all it needed to say. You're making these lists on Tier Maker has made starting a Yu-Gi-Oh series / playlist a lot easier. Thanks. I'm glad. I'm really glad you're enjoying it, the guy who makes random tier lists. Don't worry, one day there's going to be a nice premium edit where I cut out all the misspeaking and it's going to have overlays and graphics and just be better all around, but we're not quite there yet. So hopefully that doesn't mess up your playlists in the future too much. Where is Spell Shield type 1 through 7? Yeah, that's a good question. Bad Fairy Meteor Crush, equip spell from Magic Ruler. Yep. I'm going with it's just bad. Theoretically it's useful, but just going with bad. It gives it to all your monsters though. Yeah. I guess it's more of a win more card, but do you really want to go -1 to just push a little bit of damage? In OCG it is, I can't read that. So 2 words and not 1. Ah. Regionalization is having some trouble. Misspeaking is peak content though. Glad someone's enjoying it. Next up, Pineapple Blast. I actually really like this card. So pineapple is slang for grenade. I didn't realize that. So this is just a grenade, a future grenade. Pineapple Blast, normal trap. When you normal summon a monster, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, destroy your opponent's monsters so that your opponent controls the same number of monsters as you. Your opponent chooses which of the monsters are destroyed. Early evenly matched. I can agree with that. It's interesting. I really like this card's design. I think it's very fair, but not necessarily very good. So we already have Torrential Tribute in the game, and Torrential Tribute is just miles better than this card. I can't see chat. I don't know. I think that one might be on your end. Not sure. But I really like the design space of Pineapple Blast, even if it's not that great. I think it's good on release. I'd play it at this time. It's my 4th and 5th and 6th copy of Torrential Tribute, maybe. Yeah, it's great in sealed or draft. Good on release doesn't mean great. It's just good. Just not bad, I guess. Next up, Secret Barrel. Normal trap. Inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the total number of cards on your opponent's side of the field and in your opponent's hand, multiplied by 200 points. This is... Look at that, all the chain burn staples next to each other. Use it in chain burn, you use it because gimmicky end of match procedures, you use it for a few different things. Everything should be worse than Kaiser Coliseum. Yep. Because that card's a design mistake. Next up, Physical Double. Normal trap. During your opponent's turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Special summon one Mirage token with the same level, type, attribute, attack, and defense as that target. Destroy this token during the end phase. It's almost good. I don't know. I think this is just filler. Theoretically, you can copy their biggest thing and then stop them from attacking. It's sort of like Gore's Emissary of Darkness in that way, but much, much worse. We're coming up on more design mistakes. Ooh. I wonder if that's applying to Rivalry of Warlords. Continuous trap. Each player can only control one type of monster. Send all other face-up monsters on the send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. I mean, this is definitely one of the better traps. I don't know if it goes all the way into design mistake. It is very playable. Now, a lot of archetypes are pretty good about being monotype, but usually extra deck monsters or different plays that you'll make, you're going to go into another type. Very strong effect. Deceptively strong effect. I don't like the card either. It's interesting, though. I don't know if it's a design mistake, but it's up there. Ooh. Next up, Formation Union. Normal trap. Select and activate one of the effects. It's modal. Equip one Union monster on your side of the field to an appropriate monster on your side of the field as an equipped spell card. Or, unequipped one of your equipped Union monsters and special summon it to your side of the field in face-up attack position. So, I'm just going to put it next to Combination Attack. Combination Attack and Formation Union. I think they get to select which type remains on the field with Rivalry of Warlords. Next up, Adhesion Trap Hole. Normal trap. When your opponent summons a monster, have that monster's original attack. Hey, it can hit multiple monsters. It hits anytime they're summoned. It's just bad. It is. I think this is the worst trap hole in the game. Yeah, it's good artwork though. It's funny. Next up, we are getting into the complicated name ones. So first up, these are in alphabetical order, thankfully, I guess. XY Dragon Cannon. Light attribute, level 6. Machine, fusion, effect. Materials are X Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. You do not use polymerization. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. You can discard one card, then target one face-up spell or trap card your opponent controls. Destroy that target. I think I'm just going to say it's acceptable in archetype. I mean, you can only really play it in archetype, but it's a very solid card if you're using that. Contact Fusion's pretty good too. I guess what you can do with it is, because there are contact fusions, you could use frontline base and then get this guy out on turn 1 and then start popping things. But if you're doing that, you might want to use one of the other ones. Like XYZ Dragon Cannon. Light attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Level 8. Machine, fusion, effect. Materials are X Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head, and Z Metal Tank. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. You do not use polymerization. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. You can discard one card, then target one card your opponent controls, destroy that target. So this is the best because it can hit everything, but it's still not great. This is the one that so it was actually released in the promotional 10s a few months earlier, but you literally can't play it because it needs to be special summoned from the extra deck by banishing the above cards. You literally couldn't bring it out with like Metamorphosis, or I guess you could get it out with Gale Dogra, banish it, and then special summon it from the banish zone? No, because it must first be special summoned. Anyway, literally unplayable card on release, which is funny. Contact Fusion, no polymerization. Contact Fusion is great. It's consistent, but resource intensive. It doesn't make for fusions that are much more viable on its own. I think Contact Fusion best application is with Gladiator Beasts by far. Second best is, I guess, with Neospatians maybe. But I really like it. I really like Contact Fusion. If this card, you could bring it out any other way, then it'd be very useful. But I don't think there's a way to conceivably cheat it out. Next up, XZ Tank Cannon. Light attribute, level 6. Machine, fusion, effect. Materials are X Head Cannon, Z Metal Tank. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. You do not use polymerization. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. You can discard one card, then target one face down spell or trap your opponent controls. Destroy that target. Put it right next to XY. And finally, we have YZ Tank Dragon. It's so silly that there's 3 of these. Light attribute, level 6, machine fusion effect. Materials, Y Dragon Head, Z Metal Tank. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. You do not use polymerization. Cannot be special summoned from the graveyard. You can discard one card, then target one face down monster your opponent controls. Destroy that target. 2100 attack, 2200 defense. Theoretically, these cards are pretty good. If you're already running the deck, you run these in the extra deck. YZ looks derpy. Yep. I can agree with that. XYZs and links are essentially Contact Fusion but less clunky. Yeah. I'd say that synchros, there's a gradual trend that extra deck summoning is just progressively getting easier. I don't know what could happen after Link monsters. I guess you could start throwing spells and traps in it too, or maybe just directly from your hand to special summon from the extra deck, but it'd be crazy. Having a fusion with each combination is really cool, and I wish they had done the same for the APCs. Oh, they don't? Oh, I didn't realize that. That makes me a little sad. What would AC Dragon Buster be? I think pendulums are slightly different. I was saying like, you know, the Fang of Critias and the Claw of Hermes, where as material, they're using spells and traps. Pendulums are a little bit different. Pendulums are like recurring card advantage. I've seen it described as a free soul charge you get every single turn, and that is just a great explanation for how it was on release. Synchros might be the best extra deck design, but they're a little bit complicated. Especially dark synchros. We didn't get them in the TCG, thankfully, but that's confusing. Dark synchros, really confusing. Back to this set, though. We're nowhere near synchros. Synchros come out in 2008. That's 5 years away. We got Great Angus. Fire attribute, level 4, Beast. A very violent beast. It is always berserk. People say that they have never seen it silent. 1800 attack, 600 defense. So I think this is actually the new best beast in the game. So for that reason, I'm going to put it next to Darkblade. This card's also in Beast Soul Swap, which is interesting. Next up, Isu. Fire attribute, level 5, Fairy. He seems to be very unreliable, but he might have incredible potential. 100 attack, 100 defense. This is like one of the worst tribute monsters in the game. I know Hieratics have the big dumb sun dragon one that's got 0/0 on a level 8, but can you imagine pulling this card? I actually did pull this card. This is one of the first cards I ever owned. There was like a vending machine and you put quarters in and then you got one card out. So I put like 2 quarters in and this is the card that came out. And it was very disappointing. I love the resource aspect of Xyz. I do like that. I like how their effects are reined in by the number of times you can use them. That is a problem with synchros. These are based on the Parodius game series. So in Gradius you have options, you have little things that fly beside you and shoot. You're not Gradius in Gradius. The plane is named Vic Viper. I won't make that mistake a third time. But so this is one of your options in Parodius. I really wonder what changes to the game would need to be made for a new extra deck type. Managing the EMZ and arrows is really annoying enough with the current ones. Yeah, I agree. They're just going to make 2-layer playmats, so there's going to be additional arrows that are pointing vertically up and vertically diagonal. And we're going 3D with the next extra deck summons. I guess you can float into it with UFO Turtle, Jace. That's fair. Canty89, I pulled a secret rare 1000 dragon out of one of those vending machines. I'm gonna need picks or it didn't happen. Ooh, rank ups made the XC summon power creepy. I can see that being a problem. Rank ups are weird. Setting pendulums face down. Ooh, that's funny. Next up, Sonic Duck. Sonic Boom. Wind attribute, level 3, winged beast. A duck which can walk at a sonic speed. Oh, it's walking? Sometimes he cannot deal with his incredible pace and loses control. This is walking. I wonder what happens when he runs. By the way, is this what Sonic Chick turns into? Is that card a reference to this one? 1700 attack, 700 defense. Hey, new best in slot. And he be zooming. This is the best card to attack under Gravity Bind. Does that make it good? I guess that makes it okay. Rearrange these slightly. Okay. He evolves into Sonic Bird. Oh, that might be true. Sonic Duck evolves into Sonic Bird. XYZ is always liable for power creep because it doesn't have a mechanic like tuners that can be restricted and hard to summon. I agree. It is, I wouldn't say a time bomb, but it is definitely ticking. There's a lot of unchecked design area. Next up, Luster Dragon. Wind attribute, level 4, dragon. A very beautiful dragon covered with sapphire. It does not like fights, but it has incredibly high attack power. Indeed it does, with 1900 attack and 1600 defense. So this is better than Gemini Elf. I think I've seen this card be played in the metagame. I want to say that I have. I don't know if it would be just like a rabbit target, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this vanilla just in the metagame in like the 2003 to 2006 range. The fact that VFD exists just means any deck that can put out level 9s is destined to be meta. Ooh. Time Bomb. Dragons are real good beat sticks. So the funny thing about Luster Dragon is Luster Dragon number 2, I think was released before Luster Dragon, but Luster Dragon number 2 was also named Luster Dragon, which is confusing. Luster Dragon, an okay alternative to Gemini Elf at the time, but was considered worse because the defense was too high to be searched with Witch of the Black Forest. Ooh, that is a good downside to note. And yes, it was power crept by Alexandrite Dragon. Dragon beatdown is okay in this time period. Plus you can use Luster Dragon with Paladin and White Dragon as material. Next up, another Paladin actually, Amazonas Paladin. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, effect. This card gains 100 attack for each Amazonas monster you control. 1700 attack, 300 defense. I think it counts itself. I don't even think this card is good in archetype. I think it's just really underwhelming. This is not a good payoff. Next up, Amazonas Fighter. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, effect. You take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. 1500 attack, 1300 defense. So there's some silly stuff that you can do with it now, but it's just underwhelming. Interesting that I got an alternate artwork though. So you take no battle damage with the fighter, but Amazon Swordswoman is arguably better. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, effect. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card instead. 1500 attack, 1600 defense. It's gimmicky. I mean, you can pump up your opponent's monster and then crash into it, and then they lose because you attacked. I don't know how useful that is, though. So, probably not getting out of Gimmick. Amazonas is not turning up great yet. Things are not coming up Amazonas. Next up, Amazonas Blowpiper. Earth attribute, level 3, warrior, effect. Select one face-up monster your opponent controls during each of your standby phases. It loses 500 attack until the end of this turn. 800 attack, 1500 defense. I think it's just bad. It might even be very bad. When is this useful? How is this surviving until your next turn? I can't. Man. Not a good start. I guess it's a level 3, which makes it better and worse. I don't know. Next up, Amazonas Tiger. I think Baby Tiger came later, and Baby Tiger is pretty good. But the big one, Amazonas Tiger, Earth Attribute, level 4, Beast, effect. You can only control one Amazonas Tiger. This card gains 400 attack for each Amazonas monster you control. Does that include itself? I think that includes itself. Your opponent cannot attack any face-up Amazonas monsters except this one. I guess it's better than Paladin, but it's not swarming. It just gains attack. It doesn't have much impact at all. And that's not quite it for the Amazonas support in this set, but there's not a lot of good ones. What's the Amazonas that was used in burn decks? Archer was used in burn decks because Archer tributes to burn. If there's another Amazonas burn deck I'm unaware of, I'm not sure, but Archer was in the previous set. What's up with Yu-Gi-Oh! Implementing bad taunt effects? That's a good point. Like Solar Flare Dragon and Marauding Captain, and actually there's a taunt card in this set with rare gold armor. Anyway, next up, Skilled White Magician. Light attribute, level 4, spellcaster, effect. Each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card. Place one spell counter on this card when that spell card resolves. Max of 3. You contribute this card with 3 spell counters on it. Special summon one Buster Blader from your hand, deck, or graveyard. 1700 attack, 1900 defense. I believe that is the reverse of the Skilled Dark Magician for the record. Do you even use this in Buster Blader decks? It gets it from anywhere. It uses spell counters. It's not bad, per se, but I don't think it's quite good enough. But what about the reverse? What about the Skilled Dark Magician? Dark attribute, level 4, spellcaster, effect. Each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card when the spell card resolves. Maximum 3. You contribute this card with 3 spell counters on it. Special summon one Dark Magician from your hand, deck, or graveyard. 1900 attack, 1700 defense. It would definitely be better on a quick effect monster. I think it's a decent payoff, so I'm going to say this card is good. Good on release. For one thing, it's just got a lot of attack points, so this card is better than Gemini Elf, because unless you're thinking of Witch of the Black Forest. But it's got more defense points than Gemini Elf, which is otherwise pretty good. It's actually better than Luster Dragon in terms of just raw stats. But I think it's really interesting. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a functioning Dark Magician deck might be okay in a few sets, because we got Dark Magician Girl, we get Thousand Knives, which is real good, we get Sage's Stone, we get Dark Sage, maybe, and Skill Dark Magician. We're starting to get a Dark Magician deck. Ooh, it had some meta play in 2009. Ooh, put it in the meta at one point then. That's good. I like the idea of spell counters, and it gave more use to some vanilla beaters. Interesting. Next up, Apprentice Magician. Dark Attribute, level 2. Look, it looks like a little Dark Magician. It's even got the blonde hair like one of the alternate artworks. Anyway, and it's got the staff, but the staff isn't nearly as cool as the big Dark Magician. Getting distracted. Apprentice Magician, Dark Attribute, level 2. Spellcaster effect. If this card is summoned, target one face-up card on the field that you can place one spell counter on. Place one spell counter on that card. Place one spell counter on that target. Ooh. If this card is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one level 2 or lower spellcaster type monster from your deck in face down defense position. 400 attack, 800 defense. I forget that it deposits a spellcaster. I forget that it's used to deposit spell counters, because spell counters didn't really measure up to all that much. But the other effect of floating into all sorts of really good level 2 spellcasters, especially flip effect monsters at the time, that's what made the card worth playing. This is the basis for Apprentice Magician toolboxes, which are pretty good. And they've, I don't know, several years of meta play, to be honest. I guess this is probably the best card so far from performance standpoint. Apprentice Monarchs and tutors for Magician of Faith, which we've already seen before. And there's actually another card. Oh, it's right next. The other card that it tutors for is Old Vindictive Magician, which going over right now. Old Vindictive Magician, Dark Attribute, level 2, Spellcaster, flip, effect, flip, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that target. 450 attack, 600 defense. I think those might be Man-Eater bug stats. Anyway, this card is just better Man-Eater bug most of the time. Oftentimes you use Apprentice Magician, you use Old Vindictive together, and that's most of your engine. There are some other targets. I think Pixie Knight is a target in this set, but you're probably not using them. Ooh, it's even used in Monarch speed duel decks nowadays. Interesting. Ooh, and the first effect of Apprentice Magician is occasionally useful to refill Breaker. Right, because Breaker can't accumulate tokens, or can't accumulate counters on his own. Next up, Chaos Command Magician. Light Attribute, level 6, Spellcaster, effect, negate any monster effects that target this one card. 2400 attack, 1900 defense. The effect started out really good, but it's a little underwhelming. This is one of those cards that was ran in tribute decks as a side deck tech card that you could technically use. I think this one is actually playable for the same reason as Spell Shield type 8, because brain control. Or not brain control, because single target removal. Simple card, wonderful effect, and better Man-Eater Bug, because it only targets your opponent's cards. Ooh, I forgot Man-Eater Bug can hit your own. Next up, Magical Marionette. Dark Attribute, level 5. Spellcaster effect. Each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card. When that spell card resolves, this card gains 200 attack for each spell counter on it. You can remove 2 spell counters from this card, then target one monster on the field, destroy that target. 2000 attack, 1000 defense. This card's real good, and I can't remember if it's seen play. I really want to say that it has, because this is recurring removal. It's not that hard to bring out. Getting 2 spell counters is extremely easy, and it gets stronger when you do so. This card is either good on release or meta, but I can't quite remember if I've seen it before. Next up, Pixie Knight. Light Attribute, level 2, Spellcaster, effect. When this card is sent to the graveyard as a result of battle, your opponent selects one spell card from your graveyard and places that card on the top of your deck. 1300 attack, 200 defense. This card is not Magician of Faith. Theoretically, you could float into it with Apprentice Magician and then sorta recycle a spell, but your opponent does it and it's slow and it puts it on the top of your deck and not in your hand. Card's just really underwhelming all the way around. But for a level 2 monster, that's 1300 attack. That's quite a lot of attack. Yeah, Magical Marionette. It's a snowball card. Next up, Breaker the Magical Warrior. Dark Attribute, level 4, Spellcaster, effect. If this card is normal summoned, place one spell counter on it, maximum 1. Gains 300 attack for each spell counter on it. You can remove one spell counter from this card, then target one spell or trap on the field, destroy that target. 1600 attack, 100 defense, or 1000 defense. This card was banned. It's so good. Breaker the Magical Warrior is potentially too good for the metagame at several points. Just +1 on normal summon cannot be understated how valuable that is. Next up, Magical Plant Mandragola. That vertical mouth on the sunflower, just eerie. Dark Attribute, level 2. Spellcaster, flip, effect, flip. Place one spell counter on one face-up card on the field that you can place spell counters on. 500 attack, 200 defense. So if you wanted to be really cheeky, you could have Apprentice Magician float into this and get 2 spell counters. But I don't think that's useful. I don't know if you're ever considering running this with Apprentice. It's not bad though. The effect is not bad. Breaker, best monster in the set on release, was limited for so many years and even banned at some points. And overall a staple in every old school deck. I agree. Breaker's great. Breaker is so good. Meta at one point almost feels too low, even though it's okay. Are we honestly considering Breaker being good enough today? Maybe. I don't think you can run it. I don't know where you would run it, but free spell and trap removal, and it's level 4. It's good for rank 4s. You could synchro with it. You could link away with it. Breaker's just top of meta at one point. We just can't put it into the meta territory today. Yeah, I don't know why magical plant Mandragola is not a plant. It looks like Dark World Thorns a lot, actually. He's not good today, it's just that he was so good back then. I agree. Breaker is bad in today's game. Yeah. Who's setting cards? Or, I guess Stray continuous spells or field spells might be up, but I don't know. Next up, Magical Scientist. Hey, you could float into Magical Scientist with Apprentice Magician. Dark Attribute, level 1, Spellcaster, effect. Pay 1,000 life points to special summon one level 6 or lower fusion monster from your fusion deck in face-up attack or defense position. That fusion monster cannot attack your opponent's life points directly and is returned to the fusion deck at the end of this turn. 300 attack, 300 defense. The card sounds pretty weak. I mean, what fusions are you going to even bring out? There's a lot of funny things that you can do with Magical Scientist, but the problem with the card is Tribute to Burn. With like Catapult Turtle, infinite combos, there's a lot of really silly things that you could do with it. It's obviously a design mistake. It's a fun card. Like in casual kitchen table, Magical Scientist can be a lot of fun, but just real bad for the competitive game. A little sad though. He's a cool lore character too. He's best friends with Kozaki. Next up, Royal Magical Library, Light Attribute, level 4, Spellcaster, effect. Each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card. When that spell resolves, maximum 3. You can remove 3 spell counters on this card, draw 1 card. 0 attack, 2,000 defense. I think... Oops. Not you. I think I put the wrong one. There's a lot of cards in this set. I think Royal Magical Library is definitely worth considering today. I think it's fair to say that it's a design mistake too. The only cards that the only decks that this card really enables are Degenerate. I've never seen it be used for something useful. I know at one point you could like use Ignites and the Key Beetle, and get some advantage off of that, but I just don't think there's anything positive with the deck, or anything positive that comes from the card. Last Warrior from Another Planet is level 7, so I don't think you can bring him out with Magical Scientist, fortunately. That is true. You can use Magical Scientist to bring out some decent fusion monsters. I guess what you could do is you could bring out Super Robo Yarrow and then tag out into Super Robo Lady and get to keep it. I don't think that's good, but it's something you could do. Royal Magical Library should maybe be part of design mistake. Not once per turn, card draw is very, very strong. I agree. I think if it's design mistake, it should be banned. I'll put it that way. Next up, Armor X. Light Attribute, level 4, Rock effect. This card cannot attack in the same turn it is normal summoned, flip summoned, or special summoned. Darn. During each of your and your opponent's standby phases, remove 1 spell counter on your side of the field. If you do not, destroy this card. 2,400 attack, which is quite a lot. I think that's the most in the game on a level 4 right now. 1,400 defense. That maintenance cost is just way too much. Ooh, we got a perfect analogy from Claw. If instant fusion is just 1 cup of ramen noodles, then Magical Scientist is the whole noodle factory. Was Armor X cool? So this card isn't a spellcaster, but Mandragola gets to be. I mean, it looks like a rock. I'll give them that. It self-destructs, and I'm racking my brain. Is there something that you could use this with? If you like had supply squad and you normal summon this, and then your opponent wouldn't, it would self-destruct and you'd get to trigger supply squad, but that's not good. That's really not good. Next up, Tribe Infecting Virus, Water Attribute, level 4, Aqua, effect. Discard one card from your hand and declare one type of monster. Destroy all face-up monsters of the declared type on the field. 1600 attack, 1000 defense. I don't remember if it's happened already, but this card can come off the ban list at any time, I think. Like, it's very forgettable. I don't think I've ever seen this run in Adamancipators. It is the best target for skill drain beaters. I will agree with that. Ban, ban, ban. Fantastic card, reasons why it is banned for 15 plus years. Was too strong for the period, seems like it could come back and be of niche use today. I think so. Some of the Mermails / Atlanteans will trigger off of Tribe Infecting Virus. I think Dragoons might be the only one. But for that reason, it might stay on the ban list for longer. Tribe is finally off, but it did take quite a lot of time, yeah. I think if you're running it in Mermail Atlantean, then Tribe Infecting Virus is okay. It's not a great card. It's potentially very strong. I'm not going to argue that a board wipe for discarding one card that can then turn into some advantage is quite good. Could use Armor X and Dark Gaia decks. No, Valkyria on the Magnet Warrior is already out, so I don't think it's the best rock. Yeah, got unbanned 2 years ago. Another one that flew under the radar. Dark Worlds. I don't know if Dark Worlds can use it. This looks like a cost to me. Of course, you're declaring the type also at the same time, so maybe it is not a cost. Maybe in Fabled you could use it. Probably in Danger too. Next up, Desquala. Deadly Koala. Doesn't it look like it? Its hand is even curled up in a fist. Dark Attribute, level 3, Beast effect, flip. Inflict 400 points of damage to your opponent for each card in their hand. 1100 attack, 1800 defense. That's actually a lot of defense points for the time. I mean, this card's been meta before. I don't think you'd run in modern chain burn, but it's been in burn decks. Right. Okay, so it is a cost, confirmed a cost for Tribe Infecting Virus. Next up, Dark Scorpion, Cliff the Trap Remover. This card's had name-changing errata. It used to just be Cliff the Trap Remover. Dark Attribute, level 3, Warrior, effect. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can activate one of these effects. Target one spell or trap card on the field, destroy that target. Hey, it's also Cliff the Spell or Trap Remover. Or send the top 2 cards from their deck to the graveyard. The mill effect is not great. 1200 attack, 1000 defense. Hey, it's level 3. Gets under Gravity Bind. I think it's either filler, because we have Breaker. So it's either filler or okay on release. It's not bad. It's just not great. Maxi OTK. Ooh, that is interesting. Baboon Burn Baby. Yeah, Desquala is good in burn decks. Hate Desquala so much. There were so many burn decks and that was used in Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games. I agree. Okay, so Dark Worlds need to be discarded by a card effect, not for costs. Sometimes it's not obvious when an effect is a cost. Or sometimes it's not always obvious when a card has a cost rather than an effect. So things like Dark World Dealings will trigger Dark Worlds, but Dark Core, for instance, has a discard cost. Warrior Staple and Goat. Ooh, that's an interesting thing. Cliff is good because he appears in the artwork of Trap Dust Shoot. No, that's not how that works. An okay card with bad stats. If he had 14 or 1500 attack, he would have been much better. I could see that. Yeah, if it discards as cost, then yep. Dark World explanation in the chat. Really? I think I'm bumping him up to good on release then, if he's seen play in Warrior Toolbox decks. Next up, Magical Merchant. Light attribute, level 1, insect, flip effect. Excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a spell or trap. Then add the card to your hand. Also, send the remaining cards to the graveyard. 200 attack, 700 defense. So this one's got modern problem-solving card text. So I guess technically this has had an effect-changing errata, but not a real one. This card's good. It's been meta in definitely a few formats. It's also been gimmicky. There's a lot of silly stuff that you can do by milling a whole bunch of cards. But it's fun. It's more fun than dangerous. Plus this card's a +1, which is really strong. Next up, Koisu. Water attribute, I think it's level 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, level 10, Fairy Union. Once per turn. During your main phase, if you control this card on the field, you can equip it to Aitsu as an equipped spell card. Or unequip the Union equipment and special summon this card in face-up attack position. While equipped to a monster by this card's effect, increase the attack of the equipped monster by 3,000 points. When this card attacks with an attack that is higher than the defense of the defense position monster, inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent's life points. So it does piercing. One monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster is destroyed as a result of battle, destroy this card instead. 200 attack, 100 defense. So you could float into this with Mother Grizzly. It's off attribute from Aitsu. I just don't think it's worth it. Best anti-card on release. No, someone confirmed that Gate Guardian's level 11. So, and I think Ultimate Obedient Fiend, which is 2 cards ahead, might even be better. Next up, Cat's Ear Tribe. Earth attribute, level 1, Beast Warrior, effect. The original attack of your opponent's monsters that battled this card during his or her turn becomes 200 points during the damage step. 200 attack, 100 defense. I guess you could use this card with Kishido Spirit and then you could wipe your opponent's board? Potentially? I don't know, it's very okay. Next up, Ultimate Obedient Fiend. Fire attribute, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's only 10, it's not 12. Fiend, effect. This card can only attack if this card is the only card on your side of the field, and if you have no other cards in your hand. The effects of effect monsters that this card destroys are negated. 3,500 attack, 3,000 defense. Those are real big stats. This guy is really hard to get out. You can cheat him out, but then you can't attack with him. And he has next to no protection. This card's real bad. I guess under skill drain it's okay-ish. Cat's Ear Tribe voted cutest card ever. It's got cute out of 10. I can agree with that. I think Rescue Cat might be beating it though. But well, all the rescue animals are in a league of their own. Next up, another cat. Dark Cat with White Tail. Earth Attribute, level 2. Beast Effect. Flip. Return 2 monster cards on your opponent's side of the field and 1 monster card on your side of the field to their owner's hands. 800 attack, 500 defense. So this card's sort of like Penguin Soldier. I guess you could recycle it in the same way as Penguin Soldier and have more effect. It's just weird. I guess Penguin Soldier's good, so this one is sort of okay. Next up, Amazoness Spellcaster. Sounds like a monster. Normal spell. Target 1 Amazoness monster you control and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Switch the original attack of those targets until the end of this turn. We have Rear Yoko coming in the game at some point, and Rear Yoko is just better than this card. So, very generously, it's acceptable in archetype. Otherwise, it's just bad or very bad. No, I'm just putting it in bad. Next up, Continuous Destruction Punch. So this is a reference to Counter Punch, or I think it's called Destruction Punch in the TCG, but Counter Punch in the OCG. And this is the continuous spell version of it. If the defense of an attack defense position monster on your side of the field is higher than the attack of the attacking monster on your opponent's side of the field, destroy the attacking monster. Damage calculation is applied normally. This is what Counter Punch does, except it's on a continuous spell card, which I think is underwhelming. Next up, Big Bang Shot. Equip spell. Big Bang Shot. I said it wrong. Big Bang Shot. Equip spell. The equip monster gains 400 attack. If the equip monster attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. Oh yeah, this card's great. This card's been meta at a few points, so this card is just better Fairy Meteor Crush most of the time, and sometimes you even want your monster to be banished when it leaves the field. There's certain cards that are better for that, and cards which cannot be revived from the graveyard prefer to be banished, for instance. I think this card works with DD's Survivor pretty well too. Now's your chance to be a Big Bang Shot. Is that Coach Goblin? Where's Coach Goblin? I don't think that's Coach Goblin. I think that's the generic imp. Well, we've wrapped all the way around. We're back to the card that we started. I'm guessing that this one was small enough to fit into the graphic, and that's why. But it's time for Gather Your Mind. Normal spell. Add 1 Gather Your Mind from your deck to your hand. Your deck is then shuffled. You can only use 1 Gather Your Mind per turn. I think Gimmick's fair. So, this card is spell counter support, and it's not bad. Gather Your Mind was actually meta in 2022 for a while due to utility and crashing Kaga streams until they got patched. That's a meta reference, okay. You had me going. I was really excited. I thought there was some deck that used Gather Your Mind for deck thinning. But if you're using spell cards for deck thinning, use Toon Table of Contents, use Spell Power Grasp is a retrain of this card, but better, because it gives 2 spell counters. Earliest hard ones per turn on a card? Ooh, I think it might be. Wow, it's bad Toon Table of Contents. Yeah, that's fair. But Toon Table is just ridiculous. Also, Toon Table of Contents isn't out yet. It comes out in 2005, I think. Sebastian says, hear me out, okay? That's okay. We'll hear what Sebastian says in a minute. Next up, Mass Driver. Continue a spell. Tribute one monster on your side of the field to inflict 400 points of damage to your opponent's life points. So Mass Driver is tribute to burn. And this is very problematic design space in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card's probably the worst ratio that you're going to get. 400 points per monster is not great, but you use it for Frog FTK, as Rasmus notes. And if you can loop it, you might be able to loop it with like Ambulance Rescue Roid or something. It's really strong. Okay. Claw says, I just don't know why Gather Your Mind deserved hard once per turn, and no future cards did. Yeah, could you imagine gathering your mind twice in one turn? Oh, Mass Driver, hard once per turn. Yeah, I think Linear Accelerator Cannon might be hard once per turn. And that card's based on Mass Driver. Spell card Cannon Soldier. Yeah, you can even see the little cannon soldiers that are operating it. Very cool. Next up, Sinri Eye. Continue a spell. Once per turn, during each of your standby phases, you can pay 100 life points to look at one card on the top of your opponent's deck and return it to its original position. Your opponent cannot look at that card. This is once per turn for some reason. I guess it has to be. Otherwise, you get an inspection problem where you could just pay life points and then use Reversal Quiz. But imagine gaining the information, oh, I know what your next card is going to be, over and over and over again. It's not very useful. It's never very useful. If this card were a skill card, it'd be sort of okay. It wouldn't be good, but it'd be at least understandable. I think if we ever make a Yu-Gi-Oh! RPG and you get to access the Millennium items, but maybe you get a super watered down version of them, this card could be one of those skill cards. Like you're using a Millennium item in the game. But that's way out there. Anyway, the card's just very bad. Next up, Emblem of Dragon Destroyer. Add one Buster Blader from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Card's actually pretty flexible. So, I have been told that this card is playable in modern Buster Blader decks. And I guess if you're playing Buster Blader decks, you're definitely running this card. It's just solid search. Mass Driver is one of those enabler cards that gets unbanned purely because the problem cards are gone. I think Mass Driver is the problem card, to be honest. Interaction between Claw and Carter. In some senses, the OCG TCG prefers a smaller ban list that requires more future attention over banning all potential threats. It's different in philosophy, and it's interesting to think about. I say just ban them all. They're not healthy for the game. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it's a good search card. It's not a, medallion of ice barrier medallion or Gladiator Proving Ground, but still a pretty good search. Just good deck thinning. Next up, Jar Robber. The answer to Pot of Greed, but not really. Quick play spell. You can only activate this card when Pot of Greed is activated. Negate the effect of Pot of Greed, and draw one card from your deck. So this is a +1 negation. For some reason it's on a quick play spell. I guess that's okay. I think this is just bad. It's so narrow. It triggers on exactly one card that's been banned for most of the history of the game. In that sense, it's actually very bad because this card does nothing. But the actual effect is good, but lining it up, even if they're playing 3 copies of Pot of Greed, you're probably not going to hit it. This card is dead way too often for that risk. Ooh, the Yada unban signifies that philosophy changing over time. Interesting. Ban them all, let Konami sort them out. I agree with that philosophy. Next up, My Body as a Shield. Another quick play spell. My favorite card. Look at that. Artwork is so good. Marauding Captain taking a hit for Gagigo. It's just perfect. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card or monster effect that would destroy a monsters on the field, except during the damage step, pay 1,500 life points, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This is potentially biased, but this card sees meta play every now and again. I know it came up in Zodiac formats. I guess if you have to protect your castle, this is one of the better cards to do it. I think this card is keep in the back of your mind. If all the pot cards could be negated by it, Jar Robber would be a niche counter. That's interesting. My Body is such a versatile card. Seen play in various formats. Yeah, I agree. I'm just gonna say, keep it able to keep it in the back of your mind because it might be useful again. So close to the end of stream and I have to dip. Tragic. Thanks for the content, Kaga. Nice having you, Myler. Nice having you, Milo. I'll upload it later, so you'll get to see it. Saw play as recently as Zodiac format. Could see play again at some point in the future. That's what I think. Next up, Spellbook Organization. This card I have infamously misread in many ways. So this is part of the reason why I'm doing the series, is just so that I read cards and get less of them wrong. This used to be pigeonholing Book of Spell for the record, name-changing errata, so now this is part of the Spellbook archetype. Neat. Spellbook Prophecy archetype. Quick play spell. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then return them to the top of your deck in any order. This is virtual card advantage. It's -1 in physical card advantage. You used it in Chainburn a little bit, and it's a decent setup card in that context. It's even seen a little bit of meta play, specifically in Chainburn. I don't know if you'd ever use this in actual Spellbook Prophecy decks, but maybe. Next up, Megaton Magical Cannon. Normal spell, remove 10 spell counters on your side of the field, destroy all cards on your opponent's side of the field. This is like a short circuit effect or an Ojama Delta Hurricane effect. It's not bad. I think we're going to put it in filler. How are you getting 10 spell counters is the big question. Like, if you swarm the field, then maybe you could get a few spell counters. I don't think you're accumulating 10 on one monster, but maybe across 3 or 4 monsters, it's not that bad. Effect is good, but maybe the cost is too high. Of course, that might be missing the point a little bit, because like Pitch Black Power Stone exists, and you could remove those spell counters, right? Because on this continuous trap, activate this card by placing 3 spell counters on it once per turn during your turn, you can target one other face-up card on the field that you can place a spell counter on, remove one spell counter from this card, and if you do, place one spell counter on that target. When the last counter is removed from this card, destroy it. Yeah, it's not bad. Where is Mandragola? It goes next to Mandragola. I guess by definition it is bad then. Cool card. Wish it was playable, but the Endymion spell counter archetype came way too late. Aw, that is sad. Next up, Amazoness Archers. Normal trap. When an opponent's monster declares an attack while you control an Amazoness monster, change all monsters your opponent currently controls to face-up attack position. Flip effects are not activated. They lose 500 attack, and they must attack this turn in naval. This is another taunt effect. Is this good? I guess it's acceptable in archetype. Maybe? No, it's just bad. I'm sorry, Amazoness. This is forcing your opponent's monsters to attack you, and that can go sideways very quickly. This is followed by Dramatic Rescue. And look at the OCG artwork on this one. I like it a lot better. They remove a lot of guillotines in the regionalization. It's obviously because of the French audience, but in this case, it makes the threat a lot more obvious. Anyway, Dramatic Rescue, normal trap. Activate only when a card is activated that targets an Amazoness monster. Return the targeted monster to the owner's hand and special summon one other monster from your hand. So you can dodge targeting effects, but you're going -1 to do it. It's not good. Amazoness Archers is one letter away from sharing a name with the best Amazoness card. Ooh, must be rough. Next up, Exhausting Spell. That must be what I'm feeling the effects of right now. But we're almost done with the video. Push through. Exhausting Spell, normal trap. Remove all spell counters on both sides of the field. Hey, there's a better version called Counter Cleanup, and I'm actually going to put this in very bad right next to Union Rider. I guess against Endymion, it's okay, but you're just not going to use this card. It's just not good enough. Next up, Hidden Spellbook. I think this is a spellbook card. During your turn, target 2 spell cards in your graveyard. Shuffle those targets into the deck. It's recursion, but it's not good recursion. I think this card is just filler. We have some other cards, like Recycle I think is better, but I guess Pixie Knight might be better. I don't know. It just seems really slow and not so good. Next up, Miracle Restoring. A lot of use of that Pitchback Power Stone. Normal trap. Remove 2 spell counters from your side of the field, then target 1 Dark Magician or Buster Blader in your graveyard. Special summon that target. I think this card is playable. Oh, wait. I think I'm going to put it right next to Skilled White Magician. That I think this card is playable, specifically in a Dark Magician and or Buster Blader deck, which I think is really coming together. It's okay. I like it. I think it's not too costly, and I think it's a reasonable upside. Hidden Spellbook for Transmigration. I mean, it's okay, but a lot of the utility of Transmigration came from it being a disruption tool and or recycling your floating monsters. Next up, Ooh, awkwardly formatted remove brainwashing. But I think this is the most recent version of the card, and it's got many rules text changes, I think. Continuous trap. The control of all monsters on the field returns to their owners. Returns to the owners. I mean, there's some silly, fun stuff that you can do with this, like kaijus. You contribute your opponent's monster, then you kaiju, and then you take back your kaiju. So is the Power Stone what a spell counter looks like in the lore? Or are spell counters just supposed to represent something abstract like mana? I don't know. Like, counters in general are really interesting. Like, they're resource systems contained within cards. I like how they're self-contained for the most part, but sometimes they're not. Like, Breaker is not. Or self-replenishing for the most part, but Breaker is not. I think abstractly they're represented by that symbol, but I don't think they're an object. Very interesting. There's a whole bunch of cards that have the Pitch Black Power Stone on them that are not necessarily related to spell counters. In fact, we can look at this set and see an example with is it Old Vindictive Magician, I think, has it on his staff. But that's neither here nor there. Remove brainwashing, fun gimmick card. Next up, disarmament. Normal trap, destroy all equip cards on the field. Oh, this is anti-union support, isn't it? Getting a lot of these very specific counters, so we'll put it, I guess, next to the anti-union support. Next up, anti-spell. Counter trap. This is counter spell, by the way. Remove 2 spell counters on your side of the field to negate the activation of a spell card and destroy it. So that's the counterspell magic effect, and it's sort of like, 2 blue mana, 2 spell counters for countering a spell. I don't know. To me, this should be called counterspell, and I think it's okay. This is 1-for-1 spell negation, always valuable, and if you're running the spell counter deck, this is a pretty good card, pretty good payoff. Megaton Cannon might be too expensive, but anti-spell might be okay. Next up, the Spell Absorbing Life. Normal trap. Flip all face-down defense position monster cards on the field face up. Flip effects are not activated at this time. Increase your life points by 400 points for each effect monster on the field. So this is like reverse ceasefire. And cards that just give you life points are not good. But it does stop flip effects. So it's slightly better than that. Disarmament. No way. Disarmament saw play against Inzectors. You sure like Eternal Rest or really Eternal Rest weren't the first choices against Inzectors? I guess they were, but that's silly. That Disarmament saw play against Inzectors. Wow, Rasmus coming in with the clutch. All the way. Oh, by the way, is that red thing the Beharit in this card's artwork? Maybe that's just me seeing things. Home stretch. Dark Paladin. Dark attribute level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Spellcaster, fusion, effect. Materials are Dark Magician and Buster Blader. Must be fusion summoned. When a spell card is activated, quick effect. You can discard 1 card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. Gains 500 attack for each dragon type monster on the field and in the graveyard. 2900 attack, 2400 defense. I don't know if this card has seen meta play, but it's actually real good. Yeah, but really Eternal Rest would stop the Inzectors during their turn too. But maybe it's just me. I think Dark Paladin, acceptable in Archetype, or I want to say that it's seen play in Dark Magician decks because it's something you can run in your side deck. It's a real good card. I want to say maybe too generous, but I mean, it's a decent extra deck card that you could bring out even today. Just negate all the spells. Next up, Double Spell. Normal spell, discard one spell card, then target one spell card in your opponent's graveyard. Place that target in its appropriate zone on your side of the field. And as this card's effect resolution, follow its card text as if you had used it yourself. Woo! So, Double Spell, I've actually seen in the side deck. It's a funny little card that you can use. It's sort of like Grave Robber, except a little bit more expensive. But I've seen it in a meta side deck before. Okay, and confirmation, yes, really Eternal Rest is the one you'd use if you're playing Insectors yourself, but you don't care in wind-ups, so you could use Disarmament. Interesting. Final card, secret rare in the set, Diffusion Wave Motion. Normal spell, this card is not treated as a fusion card, otherwise fusion support would work. If your opponent controls a monster, pay 1,000 life points. Then target one level 7 or higher spellcaster you control. This turn, it must attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Also, other monsters you control cannot attack. The effects of monsters destroyed by those attacks cannot be activated and are negated. This is a payoff for your Dark Magician, among other things, but I think it's just a filler card. Waste of a secret rare slot, to be honest. And that's the set. Woo! That difficulty in starting up the stream ate up a lot of time, so I think that's all we have time for tonight. But I had fun. This is a pretty cool set. I love seeing sets with a lot of top heavy cards, especially a lot of cards that are worth considering today, and this is a pretty decent showing. But I'm signing off for tonight, so good night. Hope everyone sleeps well. I don't think this is the most design mistakes. We've had several this set, but I think we've gotten like way more. I'll figure it out when I make data videos in the far future. But for now, end of stream. Good night.